Hello, here I am again with the previews catalog for April 2025. The catalog put out by Diamond Distribution. I think this is the fourth straight month. I've said this could be the final one. And once again, this could be the final one. We'll see. Diamond has been bought, at least in theory. We'll see how that shakes out. So yeah, I'll go through this stuff. Kind of a light month, but let's see what we got here. I'll start off with there was nothing in the Marvel catalog of interest to me. In the DC catalog, let's see what we got here. So for DC, sorry, got my numbers mixed up. Well, first of all, here's an absolute edition of the Death of Superman. Cannot imagine anybody wanting this. And I say that as someone who devoured this shit as a young kid. It's all pretty bad. I don't know that this is much better. One of these DC Finest collections. DC's kind of pumping these things out. Almost like their version of Epic Collections, I guess. Anyway, this is Justice League of America, The Return. It's really Justice League Detroit. They put out an omnibus of this stuff a few years ago. I'll be honest, I always have kind of regretted not buying it, even though I know a lot of that stuff is just dog shit. And this will be hard for me to resist too, even though I still know that it's dog shit. Another DC Finest book, Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle challenges the Red Knight. Haven't read any of this stuff, but this volume collects never before reprinted Charlton Blue Beetle stories. So there you go. Ditko is involved here as one of the writers and artists, but there's a lot of other people. No idea if that stuff's any good, but at least it's kind of an interesting title to collect. Here we go. Batman Year 3, the deluxe edition. I don't know if this stuff's ever been collected before. Maybe some eagle-eyed viewer will point out that it has somewhere. But it's very surprising because obviously Batman Year 1 is one of DC's evergreen titles, and Batman Year 2 was a trade collection back in the early 90s. The Mike W. Barr, Alan Davis stuff. Maybe McFarlane. Was McFarlane involved? Anyway, this is Batman Year 3. Happened a few years after Year 2. Written by Marv Wolfman, art by Pat Broderick. Mentions that there is an introduction by the associate editor and a brand new afterword by Pat Broderick, which is interesting to me. Not really sure what Pat Broderick has been up to for many years, but he was on a lot of DC comics when I was reading them in the early 90s. Always had kind of a odd style that I enjoyed. Anyway, I like Batman Year 3. I haven't read it in a very long time. I'm not going to say it's some sort of masterpiece, but I read it as a young guy, and I really loved it. Another trade, Justice League International Book 2. This collects JLI 18 through 27, Justice League Europe 1 through 6, and annual number 1. This stuff's been collected, kind of over and over again. It was in smaller trades, then they put them out in the omnibus format. Now they're in these trades, these fatter trades. This is 576 pages for $40. I kind of feel like if you're interested in this stuff, you probably already have it. But yeah, I'm a big fan of this stuff from when I was young. Really my sweet spot for DC Comics reading. Also, Swamp Thing by Rick Veitch, Book 2. This collects kind of the middle of his run, which leads me to believe there will be another trade coming. DC had put out 3 Rick Veitch trades before. I'm not sure if they got all the way through collecting them, so I'm going to have to check that out and see if we're getting into uncollected territory. But Rick Veitch is great. The other creators mentioned here, Jamie Delano, Stephen Bissett, John Ridgway, all great too. I'm sure at base level, these are very entertaining, fun comics. The IDW catalog, I didn't find anything of interest personally. And there was not an Image catalog for me to peruse. So, on to the main thing. I always wonder if I get too negative at times looking through this catalog, but I'm going to start off that way here. From the free comic book day stuff, Random House children's books. There is a Dr. Seuss graphic novels, I guess kind of sampler. Basically, they're doing graphic novel adaptations of Dr. Seuss books, which sounds like the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard of in my life. Why would you do that? I don't know. Mentions that James Kolchaka is involved. Art Baltazar. You know, I'm not saying anything bad about the people working on these things. I'm glad they're getting a paycheck. But the premise is idiotic to me. Dr. Seuss books are, you know, not really graphic novels, but they're picture books. I don't know that you need this stuff, but what do I know? Maybe they're going to churn out some classics. Even though I highly, highly doubt it. All right, from Dark Horse. What do we have here? Rolf and Other Fantasy Stories by Richard Corbin. I don't even know where we're at now. Is this book 6, give or take, in their Richard Corbin library? These books have been gorgeous, and now we're getting into material that is harder to find. So, very exciting. I think even for people that have a bunch of Corbin material, getting this stuff in nice new formats in a hardcover book is quite a thrill. Speaking for myself, that's true. This book doesn't interest me very much, but I thought it might interest some other people. Godzilla's Monster Piece Theater. It collects a 3-issue series by Tom Scioli in his classic kind of retro mashup style. I'll be honest, nothing against Tom Scioli. I've just kind of gotten tired of it. I don't have much interest in it anymore. But I would love to hear if someone out there really disagrees and thinks I'm missing out. I have enjoyed some of his earlier work. I guess there was one IDW thing I can mention here. Carmopolis Book 1, The Land of Cars. Looks like this is a comic for younger readers, but I'm going to mention it because it's by the cartoonist Nick Bertozzi. He was a guy that I read back in the early 2000s. He had a one-man anthology, I think it was called Rubbernecker, or Rubberneck, which I enjoyed quite a bit back then. And he's continued to make work over the years, sometimes on my radar, sometimes off. Anyway, familiar name. From Aardvark Vanaheim, Cerebus in Hell presents Narutubus one shot. So he did a previous I don't want you to call it a manga Glamour Puss mashup. This is his second one. I can't remember what that one was called. It is one of the strangest comics I've ever seen. My friend of mine, Ray, if you're watching, shout out to you. He read it, couldn't make heads or tails of it, which I thought was amazing. Cerebus is sort of impenetrable for new readers as it is, and then you get into his late era craziness. What an oddity. So anyway, I don't know who the hell this is for. I don't know who's buying this shit. But he's put out another one. It's pretty amazing. Just thought I would mention it, even though I don't expect anybody to want it. From Abrams Comic Arts, Spider-Man panel by panel. This is, yeah, I believe it's Amazing Spider-Man #1, and then it's broken up panel by panel by Chip Kidd. I'm not sure if anybody else is working on this thing. They did a similar book devoted to Fantastic Four #1. A friend of mine told me he really liked that book. I honestly never gave it a thought, so, but maybe I was missing out, so I figured I would mention it here in case anybody else is interested. Chip Kidd is not someone I'm a huge fan of, to be perfectly honest. From Cinebook, Michel Vaillant, Legendary Races Volume 3, Disaster Season. These are pretty cool books. Just thought, it's always worth mentioning anything that Cinebook puts out, even if I'm not going to buy it personally. But getting racing car books is pretty cool over here, where we are limited in the genres that our comics industry produces work for. From Cosmic Lion Productions, Ghost Agents, Landgraf and Massimo one-shot. So I'm only mentioning this because this is Ken Landgraf working on this comic. It's 68 pages for $10, which isn't too bad. I don't know anything about it. Clearly, Ghost Agents is some kind of title that they do. Who knows? But they got Ken Landgraf to do some work. So I thought I'd mention it. I know he's still active. He's on YouTube and stuff, but I don't know the last time he put out a comic. From Drawn and Quarterly, The Legend of Kamui Volume 2. I haven't read Volume 1 yet, but I've heard raves from everybody who has. Very much looking forward to reading Volume 1. I think it's going to be a 10-book series, so another hefty commitment from anybody who wants to follow it. The downside of manga is there's a lot of great stuff. And then you have to try to pay for it. From our friends at Fantagraphics, the Atlas Comics Library #6, Shiver As You Read. This is collections of, horror stories, suspense stories. Stan Lee, Bill Everett, Gene Colan, Bernard Krigstein, and more. Of a little more interest to me, Nancy Wears Hats by Ernie Bushmiller. They're picking up kind of where they left off the last time. Fantagraphics put out 3 Nancy collections, and the last one was during the pandemic, and hardly anybody bought the thing, or, they didn't print very many, and so this one kind of picks up in the same era as that last book, and then they're going to keep going forward. I believe these are 2 years at a time. Who knows how many they'll get out, but it feels like Nancy has had a resurgence in the last few years of interest, as it should. I think it's one of the great strips. I think Ernie Bushmiller was one of the great cartoonists. The Devil's Grin, Book 1. For those people out there who've been following Alex Graham's self-published version of The Devil's Grin, maybe you won't care, but for everybody else, here is the first volume of it in collected form, 464 pages, nice thick book, from the woman who did Dog Biscuits. Stuff looks great. The Interest File by Dix. Dix had illustrated a previous graphic novel with Fantagraphics called Dull Margaret, co-created with Jim Broadbent. I have not read Dull Margaret, but I have read The Interest File, and it is enjoyable. An awkward young man discovers that his quiet seaside Welsh town harbors Nazi horrors in its haunted cemeteries. That sounds about right. There you go. Caravaggio, The Palette and the Sword, Book 2 by Milo Manara, or Milo Manara, perhaps. Volume 1 just came out recently. Volume 2 which I believe is the last volume coming out now. Very excited that Fantagraphics is working on publishing a lot of Manera's work. This is a nice package. It's just like a $20 softcover book. Easy to dip in and try it if you're interested. The last time his work was collected was in big hardcovers from Dark Horse. Those were great books, but also pricey and went out of print immediately. So always good to see more Manera. The Wrestler by John Ken Mortensen. He had a couple of art books come out. This is his first graphic novel, I believe. His debut graphic novel. He is Scandinavian, but I could not tell you really what his story is. But he does this kind of basically death metal-ish style. If that sounds like it's up your alley, you might enjoy this. The Woman with 50 Faces, Maria Lani and the Greatest Art Heist That Never Was. Don't know anything about this, though I really like the cover. And I love the description of the book about a woman who blew into Paris claiming to be a famous German actress and proceeded to seduce the cultural elite with her undeniable charisma. She persuaded 50 artists to immortalize her in paintings and sculptures. And, she eventually vanished without a trace, and so did the art. Anyway, sounds great. I'm really looking forward to reading that. What next? From NYRC, always an interesting publisher of comics. Miss Ruki by Fumiko Takano. I know nothing about this book. It is a classic of Japanese manga. It's a warm and vivid portrait of the lives of two young women in Tokyo during Japan's 1980s bubble economy. All I know is this picture here, which is just a small thumbnail, but I do know that NYRC generally publishes good books and usually worth a look. From Oni, The Sixth Gun, Road to the Six, number 0. Just highlighting this because I remember enjoying the original Six Gun series by Cullen Bunn and Brian Hurt. Not sure that anyone needed any more of that particular series, but they are back with this. Thought I would mention it. Hopefully it's successful for them. From Rutgers, Back to Black, Jules Feiffer's noir trilogy. So late in Jules Feiffer's life, he produced 3 books, Kill My Mother, Cousin Joseph, and The Ghost Script. This puts them all together. Or does it? Back to Black provides the first full-length critical analysis of this trilogy. Oh, so this is a book about those books. Frankly, I find that more interesting. Yeah, there you go. From Rutgers University Press. The writer is Fabrice Leroy, and it covers Feiffer's late-era graphic novel trilogy. So yeah, there you go. A little bit of comics criticism and analysis. Also from the same department, but at the University Press of Mississippi, Conversations with Rick Veitch. This is edited by Brandon Costello, who has did a similar volume with Howard Chaykin, and also has a book analyzing Howard Chaykin's work. Very excited for this. I love Rick Veitch's work. Really excited to read these interviews. And I was going to show off my new zine. I'm not sure where I've got them at. Here we go. Die With Your Mask On number 1. Canonzine.bigcartel.com. Interview with Rick Veitch. Not in this book, but this might wet your whistle for that. Anyway, shameless plug. But yes, I love these conversation series, and I love Rick Veitch, so I'm really excited to check that book out. In the manga section, only one thing I'm going to mention: Fist of the North Star, Volume 17. I believe after this, there's only one more to go, which my wallet is excited about. But these are beautiful books, highly recommended. Guess I'll also go ahead and mention My Name is Shingo by Kazuo Umez. Also beautiful books. Umez is a wonderful cartoonist. So there you go. Pretty light month this month. Not that I'm complaining. And if there's anything I didn't talk about, please feel free to point it out to me. And if you have any thoughts on anything I did mention, I'd love to hear that too. Thank you.